every voice matters, the power of free speech is more important than ever. Imagine a place where you can share your thoughts freely, explore new ideas, and engage in meaningful conversations anonymously. With online anonymity, you can express yourself without fear of judgment. It's about freedom, creativity, and connection. Join the conversation that matters. Embrace your voice. Celebrate your freedom. Visit 8kun.top today. That's 8kun.top.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here. From the Q Research Boards, Scott Presler lays out GOP midterm strategy. Conservative activist Scott Presler is making the rounds, arguing Republicans win by expanding voter registration, banking early votes, and focusing on ground game over online politics. He's urging local organizers to target low turnout precincts and treat the midterms like a turnout operation, not a messaging contest. New lawsuit challenges 2020. Census methods. A landmark lawsuit is seeking to block or unwind the Census Bureau's use of disputed statistical techniques tied to the 2020 census, arguing they distorted representation. The case has drawn attention because census methods directly affect congressional seats and redistricting fights. Report alleges Mar-a-Lago meeting on election systems. A report circulating online claims a pre-2024 election meeting at Mar-a-Lago was arranged to brief Trump advisor Susie Wiles on alleged vulnerabilities in U.S. election systems. Silver hits record highs. Silver prices surged to a new all-time high, with financial outlets reporting a sharp jump alongside gains in other precious metals. Analysts are pointing to a mix of debt concerns, safe haven demand, and tight supply narratives driving the move. Nigeria strike claim spreads. Motive unclear publicly. Online commentators are claiming the U.S. strike in northwest Nigeria was linked to disrupting human trafficking networks. At this time, the trafficking rationale is a claim circulating online. Official statements typically describe counter-terror operations rather than detailed motives in real time. California drops lawsuit over $4 high-speed rail funding cut. California dropped its lawsuit challenging the federal decision to revoke more than $4 billion in high-speed rail funding. State officials say they'll shift focus to other funding sources and private investment rather than continue the court fight. Israel recognizes Somaliland as independent. Israel announced formal recognition of Somaliland as an independent and sovereign state, the first country to do so. Somalia condemned the move, and regional bodies in Africa criticized it as destabilizing, setting up a new diplomatic fight in the Horn of Africa. Minnesota Lieutenant Governor clip drives controversy. A clip of Minnesota Lieutenant Gov Peggy Flanagan wearing a hijab and discussing Somali contributions to the state is spreading widely online. The content is fueling a political argument about immigration, cultural messaging, and public officials' rhetoric. Washington State SB 5312 sparks backlash over sting cases. In Washington State, SB 5312 has drawn criticism because it would reduce certain sex offender registration and supervision terms tied to net nanny sting operation convictions. Supporters argue it targets narrow scenarios. Opponents say it weakens deterrence and accountability. Australia childcare fraud and oversight concerns resurface. Australia's childcare subsidy system has faced ongoing scrutiny after reporting and audits flagged major oversight gaps and significant losses from fraud, overpayments, and administrative errors. The issue continues to drive calls for tighter compliance and enforcement.
At shop.isitwaya.com, everything you buy supports 8kun.top, the place where people talk freely no matter what. Check out our 8kun honey pot, a jar of yummy honey that's as strong as your voice. Put it on toast or in tea It's not just honey, it's freedom in every bite. Then there's Qn butter, a smooth handmade skin cream that makes you feel good while you fight for what's right. Awesome wooden pieces for display only. Hang them up or set them out. They're for showing off Qn's tough spirit. Want to help even more? Get a proto membership. So go to shop.istheway.com now and grab some goodies. Help Qn.top keep free speech alive, and let's keep the ideas flowing loud and free.
All reports can be found on Q Research or Qnotables.com. Notables do not equal endorsements. We are researchers who deal in open source information, reasoned argument, and dank memes. We do battle in the sphere of ideas and ideas only. We neither need nor condone the use of force in our work here. From the Q Research Boards. Trump escalates Christmas attack over Epstein-linked figures. President Trump posted a combative Christmas message on Truth Social, attacking Democrats and people he claims were close to Jeffrey Epstein. He framed it as a warning about upcoming disclosures and ended with a line telling opponents to enjoy what may be your last Merry Christmas. Trust Wallet Chrome extension incident triggers crypto theft reports. A security incident tied to the Trust Wallet browser extension for Chrome prompted warnings after users reported wallets being drained. Researchers described malicious code behavior consistent with secret or key exfiltration, and an updated version was pushed as investigators tracked losses reported in the millions. Hunter Biden calls Ukraine a viper's den of corruption. In a recent interview appearance, Hunter Biden described Ukraine as deeply corrupt, calling it a viper's den, while reflecting on his past business involvement there. The remark is circulating widely as critics and supporters argue over what it implies about U.S. policy and prior decisions. Macron accuses U.S. of intimidation in EU digital dispute. French President Emmanuel Macron accused the United States of intimidation and coercion after U.S. visa bans hit prominent European figures tied to tech and information policy work. The dispute is sharpening a broader U.S.-EU clash over online regulation, sovereignty, and speech rules. HUD leadership targets non-citizen access to taxpayer-backed housing benefits. HUD Secretary Scott Turner says the department is tightening eligibility and auditing processes to ensure taxpayer-backed housing programs are not used improperly by people without lawful status. The policy push is part of a broader immigration and housing enforcement posture by the administration. Trump targets former CISA chief Chris Krebs with clearance action and investigation push. The Trump administration moved to revoke or restrict Chris Krebs' security clearance and signaled further scrutiny tied to his election security role. Civil liberties and cybersecurity voices say it looks retaliatory, while supporters argue it is accountability for past decisions and messaging. Trump comments revived debate over the Q movement's popularity video clips, and posts circulated claiming President Trump acknowledged the Q movement is gaining in popularity. The wider impact is political. Supporters treat it as validation, while critics warn it fuels conspiratorial activism during an already heated election environment. Dutch court case seeks testimony from Gates and Pfizer CEO on vaccine injury claims reporting out of Europe, says a Dutch legal action tied to COVID-19 vaccine injury allegations is seeking testimony from high-profile figures including Bill Gates and Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla. The case is being watched because such requests are uncommon, and courts can narrow or reject them depending on local procedure. Witness claims politicians' families profit from federal building leases. A claim is circulating that families connected to politicians are financially benefiting from leasing buildings to the federal government. Investigators and watchdogs typically look for conflict of interest indicators like ownership records, lease terms, and procurement documentation before validating allegations. Democrats face scrutiny over DNC finances and withheld 2024 post-mortem. The Democratic National Committee is facing renewed attention over reported debt levels and internal debate about why a full public autopsy of the 2024 loss was not released. Party leaders say they want to focus forward, while critics argue transparency is necessary to rebuild credibility and strategy. Putin-linked rhetoric frames Russia's struggle as spiritual war. A viral claim says Vladimir Putin described Russia as being at war with Satanism, the occult, and sorcery. While wording varies across clips and posts, Russian officials and Putin have repeatedly used religious and anti-satanic framing in recent years to describe the West and justify cultural crackdowns. Minnesota-Lint governor video sparks backlash after Somali community remarks. Minnesota-Lint governor Peggy Flanagan drew attention after appearing in a Somali market while wearing a hijab and praising Minnesota's Somali community. Supporters called it outreach and inclusion. Critics called it political theater, and the moment is now fueling broader immigration and identity debates. U.S. and Panama forces conduct embassy crisis response operation. U.S. Navy SEALs, other U.S. personnel, and Panamanian special forces participated in a crisis response exercise at the U.S. Embassy in Panama City. The drill focused on rapid response, coordination, and facility security, signaling heightened attention to diplomatic site protection and regional readiness. Trump posts election fraud receipts claim on Christmas. President Trump posted material he described as receipts supporting his election fraud claims. Election officials and courts have repeatedly required verifiable evidence and specific claims. The political effect is immediate either way, as supporters see proof while critics call it recycled allegations. Trump orders federal government closure on Deck 24 and Deck 26, 2025. The White House issued an order excusing many federal employees from duty on Wednesday, December 24, 2025, and Friday, December 26, 2025, effectively extending the Christmas period for much of the federal workforce. Agencies handling essential functions were instructed to maintain coverage. Reports tease another U.S. strike narrative targeting ISIS on Christmas U.S.-linked accounts, and outlets reported a strike posture against ISIS elements tied to holiday period threats, including reporting focused on Nigeria. When official confirmation is limited, the key facts to watch are formal statements, operational details, and whether host nations acknowledge coordination. California energy narratives intensify as exit and refinery concerns spread online. A wave of commentary claims major oil and gas players are scaling back in California, with critics blaming regulation and policymakers warning of price and supply impacts. The concrete indicators to watch are formal corporate filings, refinery closure timelines, and state-level fuel supply planning. Kentucky Raptors Andy Barr announces death of campaign manager Tatum Dale. Rep. Andy Barr announced the death of his longtime aide and 2026 Senate campaign manager Tatum Dale, calling her the heart and soul of his team. Tributes are coming in from political figures across Kentucky, while details about the cause of death have not been made public. North Korea showcases nuclear submarine program progress and signals missile focus. North Korean state media released images tied to construction of a large nuclear-powered submarine as Kim Jong-un emphasized expanded weapons production and continued missile development. Analysts are watching for sea trials, technical capability, and any sign of foreign assistance. Turkey detains over 100 ISIS suspects ahead of holiday celebrations. Turkish authorities announced raids and detentions of suspected Islamic State operatives allegedly linked to planned attacks around Christmas and New Year's events. Officials say digital materials and extremist publications were seized as investigations continue. DOJ announces Operation Relentless Justice results in nationwide child exploitation crackdown. The Justice Department announced results from Operation Relentless Justice, saying more than 200 child victims were located and nearly 300 suspected offenders were arrested during a nationwide enforcement effort. Officials say the operation focused on child sexual abuse material, exploitation networks, and predator identification. White House orders military focus on quarantine of Venezuelan oil. The White House directed U.S. forces to focus on enforcing an oil quarantine tied to Venezuela-related sanctions enforcement. The move signals economic pressure over direct military escalation, with maritime interdictions and boarding operations likely to remain central. U.S. forces seize another Venezuela-linked tanker in Atlantic enforcement. Push Maritime reporting says U.S. forces seized a Venezuela-linked tanker in the Atlantic, marking another action in an intensified sanctions enforcement campaign. The operational story centers on tracking, high-risk boarding capability, and the Coast Guard's capacity constraints. Lightning strike boarding, motor tanker centuries. Seizure details emerge. Reporting describes a Coast Guard-led lightning strike boarding operation involving the motor tanker Centuries tied to sanctions enforcement activity near Venezuela routes. The case is being cited as part of a broader pattern of interdictions aimed at cutting off sanctioned oil flows. Looking for a fast way to track what's moving online right now? Head over to Qnotables.com. It's a centralized index of notable clips, headlines, and references being shared across the community, organized for quick browsing. Use it to spot patterns, pull links, and build your own research list. Qnotables.com. Browse the notables, verify the facts, stay informed. That's all for now. Stay alert, stay informed, and never hand your thinking over to anyone on a screen, including me. God bless you, God bless our troops, and God bless the United States of America. See you